Salut my little baguettes, welcome to l'Académie Équilibre et aujourd'hui on va faire les pronoms personnels. So let's begin. The very first thing you need to understand is what does the topic really mean. Alright, what is the meaning of the title? So in English it translates to personal pronouns. Now what exactly is a pronoun? Pronoun is something that replaces your noun. Now what does that mean? So I'll give a very simple example. For instance, if I say I'm watching the TV, it is a new TV. The TV has lot of features. Now you'll see I'm using the word TV a lot. I'm repeating it over and over again. I'm watching the TV, it is a new TV, the TV has a lot of features. Instead, I can also say I'm watching the TV, it is a new TV, right? And it has a lot of features. Now when I say it instead of TV, that is nothing but the noun becoming the pronoun. So if you know that I'm talking about the TV, right, the context is clear, then why should I repeat it over and over again? When you know what I'm talking about, I can make it it. So your TV is the noun, and when I say it, it is your pronoun. So this is my reformed sentence. That is, I'm making the noun into the pronoun to avoid repetition. Alright? The same thing we're going to learn how do we do it in French. So here you need to know that there are types of pronom personnel. What is that? We have categories in that, we have classifications. So in your syllabus you've got 5 kinds, that is COD, COI, pronom Y, EN and pronom tonique. In this video we'll be covering the first two. We'll be understanding the rules and how exactly to put it in a sentence. Okay, so let's begin with our first one, that is COD. Now, what is the full form of COD? It is cash on delivery. No, it is Complément d'objet direct. The name sounds a bit complicated, but the concept is super easy. Okay, so you need to understand what is objet here, that is your object, as in the noun we're going to replace. So here, the object was your TV and we made it it. Alright, same way, what is direct? Okay, that means direct. Direct as in, we'll take an example to understand that. Here you'll see this is my sentence. Je mange la pomme. Mange is to eat, your verb, and la pomme is your noun, as in your objet. So direct here means when there's nothing between the verb and the noun, we call it direct. And there we use COD. Now the question is, how do we use it? So we want to replace la pomme, right? I eat the apple, I eat it. How do I make it it? For that you need to understand a table. So here we'll have first person, second person and third person. This is nothing but the perspective, as in who's narrating it. First person would be I or we, that is directly involved, right? Second person would be you, singular or plural, that is again you're part of the story, alright? Then third person is someone who is not directly involved in the story, so we refer to them in the third person. They're not in front of you, as in he, she, they. Okay, now under this you have singulier, pluriel, that is je. So with that you get the pronom me or m apostrophe. For pluriel you get nous as your pronoun. Okay, so here me or m apostrophe means me. Okay, this one means us. For second person, that is you, tu or vous, you get te, t apostrophe, and here you get vous. Now the most important part of this table is third person. When you want to say it or them, here you can have masculine and feminine. That means we know every object in French has a gender, so the it can be masculine and feminine, singulier and pluriel. Okay, so when it is masculine singulier, you get le or l apostrophe in case of a vowel. Okay, this can mean him or it. Then for feminine, you get la or again l apostrophe, her or it. For them, you get les in both conditions. Okay, be it masculine, be it feminine. So I would highly recommend noting down this table, especially third person part, because that will be most important for you. So all of these words are nothing but your pronouns, your pronoms. And what exactly is their purpose? Their purpose is to replace the noun, to replace the object. So the purpose is remplacer le nom. And this noun, that is your nom, will be directly after the verb. Okay, so this nom can either be quelqu'un or quelque chose, that is someone or something. So you can ask the question qui or quoi. So if I say I see Paul. I can frame the question, who do you see? Or if I say I eat the apple, je mange la pomme, you can ask the question what? What do you eat? So pomme, apple can be replaced by quoi. That is, after the verb, you will either have quelqu'un, someone, or you will have quelque chose, that is something. And we're going to put these pronoms instead of the noun. Then because we have a lot of them, how do we choose it? Which pronoun goes in which sentence? There you need to understand, first step is the gender and agreement with the noun. Obviously you're replacing the noun, so the pronoun that you put in place of it has to agree with the gender and number of the noun that you're replacing. For example, you have pomme, la pomme. That is obviously feminine singulier. So here I'll be replacing it with la. Now where does this la go? That is the position of the pronoun. This is extremely important. The pronoun always and always goes before the verb. Now to put this into action, these two steps, how are we going to do it? In this sentence, I want to replace my noun, my object, that is la pomme. So there, I have to identify whether it is COD or not. So mange and la pomme, that is, there is nothing between the verb and the noun, which means it is direct, as in COD. First thing I need to do, in order to replace it, I have to know what do I replace it with. So la pomme, as I said, feminine singulier, I will replace it with la. So I will cut this off and I will put je la mange, which means I eat it. This la stands for la pomme, that is the apple. Okay, so it is a pronoun replacing the apple. Same way, if I have the statement je fais mon devoir, I do my homework, I want to say I do it. So first thing, this is my verb, this is my noun, nothing between it means COD. Then I have to replace mon devoir. What is it? Masculin singulier. And I can also ask the question, you do what? Quoi? That is quelque chose, right? It is something. So here, the masculin singulier, I will put le. And where will I put this le? It goes before your verb. Always before the verb. And I will not write mon devoir again. Okay? Why? Because that is what I'm replacing. If I write mon devoir and I also write le before the verb, it is grammatically wrong. It defeats the purpose of what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve. So I get je le fais. I do it. Another example. Here I want to replace la musique. Again, nothing between the verb and the noun, so it is COD. Then I can also ask the question, I listen to the music. What do you listen to? Okay, quelque chose, quoi? What do you listen to? So here, la musique is feminine, singulier. I'll put la. So this J apostrophe becomes JE again because I'm going to put a pronoun there. So no vowel clash anymore. But this sentence is incorrect. Why? Because now the vowel clash is happening over here, which is why L apostrophe is used. L apostrophe is whenever your verb starts from a vowel. It is not about the noun, it is about the verb. Note this, it is extremely again important. Okay, so instead you get je l'écoute. I listen to it. Same way, again we have another sentence. Now this time your noun is plural. Okay, so it is masculin pluriel. Okay, gender here does not really matter as long as it is plural. Okay, so here it becomes je les vois. I see them. Okay, I see the cats, I see them. Then we have how do we do negative with COD? La négation. Now this is pretty simple. All you need to know that the pronoun and the verb stay together. Alright, so for example, I'll take the same sentence. Je mange la pomme. So we made it je la mange. Now I want to say I don't eat it. For that, we know we do ne plus verb plus pas. That is our formation. La formation. But here there's a new thing in the equation. What is that? It is your pronoun. So the question is, where does the pronoun go? Here, as I said, the pronoun and verb stay together. That means you get ne plus pronoun plus verb and pas. So pronoun also goes with verb into the ne pas bracket. So you get something like je ne la mange pas. Alright? Now here comes the tricky part, okay, where most students make mistakes is passé composé with COD. Here you need to have 100% clarity, otherwise you're going to make mistakes, okay. So what do we do in that? We know passé composé is done with abo or être, that much is clear to us, right? Now the question is, how do we do it? So I'll take an example. J'ai écouté la radio. I listened to the radio. Now, radio is an exception, obviously does not end from E, but it is feminine singular. Alright, now the thing here is that we know that we put the pronoun before the verb. First thing that you need to know is that because we have two verbs here, the question is which verb does it go to? The pronoun. Which verb does the pronoun go with? Here, it always and always goes with the helping verb, that is your être or avoir. So in passé composé, pronom will go with the first verb, that is your auxiliary verb. That is the first thing you need to be careful about. Second is that we do accordance in passé composé even with avoir. That is, so far what do we know about passé composé is that we do accordance with être, we do not touch avoir. Okay, but only and only with COD. Okay, I told you you're going to have a lot of pronouns, that is COI, Y, EN, tonique. Only and only for COD you need to know that we do accordance with avoir as well. Alright, now don't get confused when you're doing just passé composé in météo temps convenable, that is mixed exercise, or just simple passé composé. There accordance only happens with être. Okay, that much is the same. Only when you're doing it with COD that you also do accordance with avoir. Otherwise, in general cases, that is normal passé composé, you don't do that with avoir, and with any other pronoun also you don't do it with avoir. No accordance in passé composé. Okay, only and only here, this is our rare case, extremely important case, is where you're gonna do it. So these 3 points, these are some confusions that I want to clear even before they exist. Okay, first one we've covered, second one I've already talked about. Third one is that when you're doing accordance with avoir, you're going to do it according to the gender and the number of the noun that you're replacing. Alright, generally how do we do accordance when we talk about normal passé composé? Forget about pronom. Okay, how do we do it with être? We look at the subject, right? That is il, elle, il est pluriel. According to that, you put your extra E, extra S to the verb, whatever. So that is according to the subject. But because we're talking about COD, here we're doing it with avoir. This is different. This kind of accordance is not the same as the normal one that we do. So here you need to know that we do it according to the noun. You're replacing the noun, right? Pronoun is all about the noun. Okay, so if the noun is feminine, you'll add an E to the verb. So according to the noun, you make modifications to your verb. So if your noun is feminine singular, what will you add to your past participle or your second verb? You will add an E. If it is feminine pluriel, you will add an E and S to your past participle. If it is masculine pluriel, just an S. For masculine singular, we don't have to make any changes, right? So here I had j'écoutais la radio. How do I convert it now? Basically the same steps. This is your verb, this is your noun, nothing between them, direct. Alright, so we're going to use COD. Now you're replacing la radio, so it is feminine singular. That means you're going to put la instead of la radio. This la will go before avoir because as I told you, it goes before avoir or être, your first verb in passé composé. Okay, now comes the twist. That is, because it is feminine singular, your noun was feminine singular, you will put an extra E in écouter. So you get je l'ai écouté with an E. This E symbolizes that the noun you just replaced was feminine singular. I listened to the radio, I listened to it. So I had this sentence, this one, right? We've already done this. Now, if it was in passé composé, that is, I saw them. So voir is your verb voir, and because it is an exception, you get view. So it is this. Now, what we're gonna do, we want to replace les chats. This is masculin pluriel. Okay, so I'll put les instead of it. I hope this much is clear to you because this is one of the most important topics in the entire les pronoms personnels, and people generally lose marks for it because if you don't have this S, your answer is partially incorrect. Now our last topic here is imperative. Here we're gonna see how do we do imperative with COD. That is when we say sentences like bring it, alright, or eat it, or finish it. Okay, so here there's a little change. That is, so far what I've told you is that we put the pronoun before the verb, and only in imperative we're gonna put pronoun after the verb. Okay, that is, This is only for affirmative imperative, that is positive sentences, without the ne pas. So I have tu manges la pomme. Now I'm supposed to make this into imperative and apply COD. In order to do COD with imperative in general as a topic should be clear to you. Okay, only then you'll be able to understand what we're doing here. Okay, so first thing, cut off the tu. Second, remove the s. Why? Because it is an ER verb conjugated with tu. That's what our rule says. Okay, so you're left with mange and la pomme becomes la. So you get mange la. Okay, so you're going to place the pronoun after the verb. Another thing is that a hyphen is going to be placed between the verb and the pronoun. Then you have negative with imperative. Okay, so there again you flip the script. That is basically it goes back to the normal format. What is our normal format? Pronoun before the verb. So when you're doing negative, the pronoun goes before the verb and not after, which is our standard way of doing it, right? So same sentence, it becomes ne la mange pas. That is, don't eat it. So the only case in which the pronoun goes after the verb in COD is your imperative positive sentences. Otherwise, everywhere it is before the verb, even in negative imperative. So now I hope COD was clear to you, because only when this is crystal clear, you'll be able to do COI. If you understood every single thing here, COI follows more or less the same format. So it will be easier to grasp that. Now we come to the second pronoun, that is COI. So what is the difference between COD and COE? Okay, the only difference is the last letter, right? D and I. So D stood for direct, that is direct. And the opposite is indirect, that is indirect. So your full form is Complément d'objet indirect. That means if direct meant nothing between the verb and the noun, indirect should mean there should be something between the noun and the verb. What is this something? It is your our family. So here we're going to be talking about our family as in the preposition a, which means to, in or at. So if a is there between the verb and the noun, then we're going to be using COI. Now here my objet is ta mère, your mother. I want to replace that. So here between the verb and the object you will see a. That means it is not direct, it is not COD, it is indirect as in COI. So the presence of a indicates we're going to be using this pronom personnel. Here you'll also see the question changes. I told you in COD you can ask the question what or who. Here we can ask the question à qui, that is to whom. So I'll tell you one thing here for COD, it could either be a thing or a person, right? That is quelque chose or quelqu'un. But COI is used generally for people, that is persons. To your mother, to your friend, right? I write to my parents, okay? I speak to my grandparents. All of that, those are people. Okay, so à qui generally has to do with quelqu'un, that is someone. This means that a will be followed by a person who we're replacing. Now what are the forms, that is what all is included in the table for COI? Till second person we have the same thing as COD. Okay, same format. But the difference comes when we talk about third person, which again third person for both of these pronouns is the most important part. Questions are asked from there. So here if you want to say to him, you get lui. You want to say to her, you get again lui. Alright, now if it is plural, that is to them, so you get leur, and again here also you get leur. So you'll see for both masculine and feminine you have the same word and they have a meaning as in to her or to him. This would mean to them, and this portion is the most important part of your table. Alright, note it down. This is a bit simple. Here no accordance is done. When you're doing it with passé composé, that is for example I wrote to her. Okay, so no accordance with anything. So if this was my sentence, tu téléphones à ta mère, I want to make this into COI. So what do I get? First thing, I'll identify which pronoun it is. Between the verb and the noun, as I told you, a is there. That is a and then a person. So my question is à qui. If I can ask the question à qui, it means COI. Alright, Now I want to replace ta mère as my objet. So ta mère is obviously féminin singulier. So you get Louis. According to the table, it is Louis. So that becomes tu lui téléphone. Okay, as in you call her. Same way for a plural sentence, I'll take j'écris à mes grands-parents. That is, I write to my grandparents. So I can ask the question, to whom do I write? À qui? Okay, so here, this is what I'm replacing. It is plural. Okay, masculin pluriel. So I get leur. Okay, gender does not really matter if I'm being honest, because masculine or feminine, you have same thing for both of them. What matters is singulier and plural. So here, it will get replaced by leur. Where does this leur go? It goes before écrit. So je leur écris. This portion gets cut off because this is what we're replacing. That's it. So I write to my grandparents, I write to them. Now for the remaining, that is negative, imperative, it follows the same rules as COD. So this was our COD and COI in les pronoms personnels. I hope this is crystal clear to you. I've explained it in full depth so that each and every last thing is clear to you. Alright, thank you.